I got
Okay, I'm working.
Will the Senate please come to order? We'll observe a moment of silence this morning in lieu of a devotional. Thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any announcements? Seeing none. We have H932 being on the calendar for notice and affecting the revenues of the state under Rule 31 is referred to the Committee on Finance. H942 being on the calendar for notice and affecting the revenues of the state under Rule 31 is referred to the Committee on Finance. H557 being on the calendar for notice and carrying an appropriation under Rule 31 is referred to the Committee on Appropriations. 577, yes, 577. H588 being on the calendar for notice and carrying an appropriation under Rule 31 is referred to the Committee on Appropriations. And H611 being on the calendar for notice and carrying an appropriation under Rule 31 is referred to the Committee on Appropriations. We now have a joint resolution to take up at this time, JRS 52, joint resolution relating to weekend adjournment on May 8th of 2026, offered by the Senator from Chittenden Central District, Senator Baruth. Listen to the reading of the resolution.
Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that when the two houses adjourn on Friday, May 8, 2026, it be to meet again no later than Tuesday, May 12, 2026.
Now, you've heard the reading of the resolution, and the question is, shall the Senate adopt the resolution on its part? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have adopted the resolution. Orders of the day. Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm wondering if we could start with the third readings on the second page of the calendar. Two of them, H534 and H648, and then move back to the topic.
Senator from Chittenden Central just likes messing up my scripts. I got it done. We have H534 for third reading. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Listen to the third reading.
H534, an act relating to community action agencies.
Question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we've passed H534 in concurrence. We now have H648 for third reading. Are there any amendments to be offered prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading of the bill.
H648, an act relating to banking, insurance, and securities.
Now you've heard the third reading, and the question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we have passed H648. We now have S-157 was passed by the House with a proposal of amendment. The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? I recognize the senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Senate Health and Welfare Committee reviewed S-157 as it came back to us from the House. And we see that there are some changes that do not affect the underlying intent or policy within the bill. So if you can look at 2006, you'll see that this is a bill about certified recovery residences for folks with substance use disorder. Initially, in the first part of the bill, language was improved to include substance use disorder. So the definition is used then through different sections of the bill. There's also within the bill some improvements to definition of unacceptable behavior in the residential agreement that residents sign when they enter a residence. And then the language further on in the bill to ensure that residents who are released or for violating their agreement understand that and also have a grievance policy in place should they be exited from the residential program. There's also reaffirming the language that we had put in that there will be a place for these folks once they leave the recovery residence so that they'll go to an appropriate housing environment. And then finally, a phrase was added to the rulemaking to include exit and transfer data in the reporting that comes back. Senate Health and Welfare asks the full Senate to concur with this proposal. Thank you, Mr. President.
Question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we have concurred in the House proposal of amendment on S-157. S-239 was passed by the House with a proposal of amendment. The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? I recognize the senator from Chittenden Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Health and Welfare also reviewed the changes that came back to us. This is the bill on child abuse and neglect working group. The bill that we sent over, I think, was a good framework, and the bill that has come back does have some improvements. The House changed the membership of the working group to make it more effective in reporting child abuse and neglect. They also made some changes and made additional requirements for the study that's included in the bill. So a coordination of mandatory reporting guidelines and attention to reporting, and asking the working group to stay focused on the mandatory reporting process. So, Mr. President, your Senate Health and Welfare asks that the full Senate concur with the S-239 as it came back to us from the House. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have concurred in the House proposal of amendment on S-239. We have on the calendar for action H-559, which passed the House on April 24th of 2026. It was referred to the Committee on Institutions, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the Senate, propose to the House that the bill be amended as it appears, starting on page 2014 of today's calendar, and that when such proposal of amendment, and with such proposal of amendment, the bill ought to pass. affecting the appropriations of the state, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the bill ought to pass in concurrence with the proposal of amendment as recommended by the Committee on Institutions, with further proposal of amendment as found in your calendar today on page 2018. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 559, an act relating to the parole board.
Recognize the senator from Windsor District for the report of the Committee on Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this report is H 559, an act relating to the parole board. When we're talking about parole, we're talking about individuals who have been convicted and sentenced. Parole is a discretionary, conditional release from correctional facilities to the community. The parole board is a quasi-judicial body that determines whether a person will be released, remain on release, and under what condition. The board meets frequently, about 9 times per month, to carry out these responsibilities. The chair is salaried, and the members receive a per diem. This bill makes 5 main changes. It strengthens the training of the board members, updates the board's composition, creates a pilot project for external legal counsel, adds budget development and reporting requirements, and clarifies victim notification statutes, including the ability to opt out of notifications. The Senate amendment makes primarily technical and clarifying changes and further clarifies the victim notification provision to ensure consistency in the statute. Mr. President, now allow me to go through section by section. Section 1, parole board training. This section requires the Commissioner of Corrections to collaborate with the parole board director and chair to provide annual training to board members. The training must be covered by key topics such as mental health disorders, substance use treatment, trauma-informed approaches for working with victims, and rehabilitation to related serious offenses. Section 2, parole board composition and training. This section makes several updates. It replaces 2 alternate members with 2 regular members, resulting in 7 regular members total, which reflects the current practice without changing the board size. It requires the governor to consult with the board's director and chair when making appointments and consider a balance of relative expertise among members. It also removes outdated references to alternate members and requires board members to attend training annually. It designates the director in collaboration with the chair. Section 3, parole board director. This section clarifies the parole board director's responsibility for providing training to the board members and for supporting the overall function of the board. Section 4, parole board legal counsel and pilot project. This section establishes a pilot project for fiscal year 2027. It provides the board with external legal counsel. It supports This support will offer both training and legal advice related to hearings. The Attorney General's office will coordinate to procure processes in collaboration with the board and the Agency of Human Services. The pilot will be evaluated during the fiscal year of 2028 and the budget process of 2028. And the parole board director will report back to the legislature by November 15th of 2026 with recommendations for future legal support. Section 5, carrying forward of funds. This section carries forward $25,000 from the Department of Corrections fiscal year of 2026 budget into fiscal year 2027 for the pilot project. These funds have been previously designated for external legal services, but were not used because of lack of bids. Section 6, the appropriation of funds. This section appropriates an additional $50,000 within the Department of Corrections budget to support the pilot project, ensuring efficient resources to its implementation. Section 7, Parole Board Budget Submission. This section requires the Parole Board Director to submit proposed budgets during the fiscal year of 2028 and 2029 budget development process. It also requires a report back to the legislature by December 15th of 2027, including the recommendation of whether the board should have its own line item, within the Department of Corrections budget. Section 8 through 10, victim notification. These sections clarify the streamlined statutory language regarding the victim notification parole hearings and decisions. They confirm current practices and victims may opt out of receiving notifications. They also consolidate and align provisions across statute, placing the detailed requirements in Title 28 and the maintaining of cross-reference in Title 13. These changes were requested by the Victims Notification Task Force. Section 11, effective date. This section sets the effective date of the bill of July of 2026. Mr. President, in summary, H 559 strengthens the structure and support of the parole board, improves training and legal guidance, enhances transparency in budgeting, and clarifies important victim notification provisions. For these reasons, the Committee on Institutions respectfully recommends that the Senate adopt this proposal and amendment and pass the bill. The vote on the bill in institutions was 5-0-0. Witnesses were Jennifer Pullum, the Executive Director of Crime Victim Services, and Mary Jane Ainsworth, the Director of Vermont Parole Board. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from Lamoille District for the report of the Committee on Appropriations.
I'm a little late this morning. My high school basketball team won the Division II state championship this year, and they're in the governor's office right now, so I'm a little late. And I'm sorry, guys, they beat Hartford. So the Appropriations Committee took a look at this. There were a couple of sections. Section 6 had $50,000 that was appropriated to corrections, and they moved money around there. They also, in Section 7, there is a parole board budget and a pilot for the budget that was in Section 7. We also had in Section 5, we have an amendment, and we struck the Section 5, and you can find on which page?
I'm on page 2016.
We have an amendment that changes, and there's $25,000 in general fund appropriated to the Department of Corrections for third-party legal services in 2025. And that is our amendment from the Appropriations Committee. We voted 7-0-0, and we would offer the amendment for the new Section 5.
The question is, shall the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Institutions be amended as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have amended the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Institutions as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations. The question now is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Institutions as amended? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have proposed to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Institutions as amended. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 559. We have on the calendar for action H 674. Introduced on January 14th of 2026, it was referred to the Committee on Economic Development, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that it ought to pass in concurrence. Affecting the appropriations of the state, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the bill ought to pass in concurrence. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 674, an act relating to the creation of the Vermont Sister State Program.
Recognize the senator from Franklin District, Senator Brock, for the report of the Committee on Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. The body may remember just a couple of weeks ago, we had a discussion on the floor and about the sister state of Vermont, and that was the Republic of Ireland. Ireland, as you know, we were very concerned or interested in Ireland as an economic development partner because of the amount of business done between Vermont and Ireland. In looking at the whole issue of sister states, it's kind of a labyrinth when you go into the Vermont legislature, because depending upon what you look at, we have sister states, we have partnerships, and we have other forms of contact with other nations. In many cases, they're at the, in a few cases, they're at the national level, as with Ireland, but also we have a lot of arrangements between our National Guard and places around the world. Some places that we perhaps have never heard of, such as a province in Russia, in which there was and still exists, at least on paper, a sister state relationship. Sister states include national governments, they include state or local governments or the equivalents thereof elsewhere, and in some cases they include cities, such as we have a city in Senegal, we have a city in Japan, we have a city in France that is in effect a, quote, sister state. This bill is designed to codify the Central State Program really for the first time and define what it is, and how it works, and what its intents are. And its intentions in most cases are to develop both a relationship between our peoples, but also to look at economic and cultural connections and how best to employ them and how to formalize them. And this particular bill is designed to do that. And then it also has some mention of doing that with the Ireland program, which we have right now. To look at the sections of the bill, section by section, Section 1 of the bill creates the sister state program within the Agency of Commerce and Community Development and states that its purpose is to strengthen Vermont's international engagement and to foster mutually beneficial relationships with national and subnational governments abroad. The creation of a board called the Sister State Commission is made up of 9 members, and it includes a variety of people, including the chair of the board of the Vermont Council of World Affairs, includes the secretary of the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, Vermont Adjutant General, the chair of the board of the Vermont Arts Council, and 3 members with expertise in cultural exchange and in higher education. It requires the committee to meet at least quarterly and to produce a report to the General Assembly at the end of each year. I'm really looking forward to that report to see how many other relationships they found, and going back to the statutes, in some cases, 20 years or more, that we perhaps need to rejuvenate. The bill sets forth the application, the review, and the approval procedures, and the ACCD, Agency of Commerce and Community Development, initially develops the application process and creates the minimum eligibility standards. The ultimate decision point when the proposal to add a sister state is added is that of the governor. Each year, the committee must submit a report to the General Assembly, which will update it on the committee's work during the year, including updates on the program, financial overview, and an outlook for the program's next year. That's section 1. Section 2 of the bill amends the Vermont Ireland Trade Commission, which was passed, as you recall, last year, and we discussed this year. 2 members are proposed to be added to the Vermont Ireland Trade Commission. That is separate from the body we're talking about with respect to the commission. These include the Commissioner for Economic Development, or designee, and the President of the University of Vermont. This will make for a total of 9 members on the commission. The section goes on to amend the reporting and accounting requirements for the commission. And each year, a detailed accounting must be included as part of their report to the General Assembly. And it limits or amends the commission's authority to only spend money it raises on purely administrative expenses, which does not include spending on election activity or food or beverages provided in official committee meetings. The Trade Commission also has to submit a written report to the General Assembly on or before December 1, 2029, with the following information summarizing its accomplishments. Includes a detailed analysis of how the commission has served its legislative purposes and accounting on funds raised and gifts received. This would provide the legislature with analysis helpful in deciding whether or not to extend or remove the commission, which is set to expire at the end of 2030. The bill, if passed by the General Assembly, would take effect upon passage. In listening to folks about the bill, we heard from the reporter from the other body. We heard from John Dooley, Patrick Enriquez, the National Guard State Partnership Program Director, Subin Evans McClure, the Executive Director of the Vermont Arts Council, Gregory Knight, the then Adjutant General of Vermont National Guard, Allison Litton, a French teacher from Hartford High School, Peter Lynch, the Senate Committee on Committees appointee to the Commission, Patricia Preston, the Vermont Council on World Affairs, Rick Siegel, Legislative Counsel, and Tim Tierney, the Director of Recruitment and International Trade, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. And we recommend the committee, after reviewing, that the body approve this bill.
Recognize the senator from Washington, Senator Perchlik, for the report of the Committee on Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Appropriations Committee looked over page 674 for any appropriations. There is a slight or business fiscal impact for the sister state committee, because there could be 2 to 5 members that could get the per diem. They could meet 4, they could meet a little more times, but the funds we felt were coming from the General Assembly's budget would be easily fit in there. We didn't have to add any money to that budget, so we were okay with that. The changes made to the Ireland Commission did not have a fiscal impact, so we supported the passage of the bill favorably on a vote of 6-0-1.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You've ordered third reading of H 674. We have on the calendar for action H 512, introduced on April, we're going to call that 29th of 2025. It was referred to the Committee on Economic Development, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that it ought to pass in concurrence. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 512, an act relating to the regulation of the event ticketing market.
Recognize the senator from Windsor, Senator Clarkson, for the report of the Committee on Economic Development.
Thank you very much. You'll be getting copies of the bill, and you're also going to get a copy of the amendment, which is integral and essential to the rest of the bill. And so, with your permission, I'll address the bill, and then I will also address the amendment, which is important to be incorporated in on second reading. We have had some consumer protection here in Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. And this is yet another one of our consumer protection bills. Here's the problem that we are proposing to solve with H512. Deceptive online ticket resale, from fake websites to scam tickets to inflated prices, are negatively affecting both our Vermont consumers and constituents and Vermont's performing arts industry. That is the problem we were trying to solve. H512 proposes to enhance consumer protections in the event ticket resale market through improved transparency and the prevention of predatory and deceptive practices in the marketing of resale tickets. This is a bill designed to address market distortion, not the legitimate resale of event tickets. And we have a robust, legitimate market for that. And importantly, it only regulates tickets sold, Vermont tickets sold by Vermont venues. This does not affect tickets that you have bought for the Red Sox or for the Sabres, yes, or for whoever else you are buying tickets, or the Buffalo Bills. So during testimony, we had great testimony from 19 people. During testimony, we heard about the real harm that the unregulated event ticket resale market is having on Vermont consumers and our venues. We heard about the deceptive marketing tactics that steal intellectual property from venues, artists, and sports teams to mislead customers into buying tickets, into buying from the site of a ticket reseller rather than from the actual venue, rather from the legitimate venue. And I urge us all, as we buy tickets online, to make sure you are buying from the legitimate venue. It's often hard to tell the differences, is what we found out. This is causing consumers to overpay for their tickets. We heard about consumers purchasing costly, invalid tickets due to speculative and scam ticket practices. From a Wheelock resident who paid $421 for a Lyle Lovett concert, which had a face value of $94 at the Paramount, to $50 being paid for a $15 ticket to the Lake Monsters game. And in 2000, just to give you a really good illustration of this challenge, in 2023, Vermont fans of the musician Billy Strings paid $65,780 more dollars than they would have for all going to scam pockets. 493 $55 tickets were on average resold for about $189 each. So by solving this problem, we are in a small way helping keep Vermonters and Vermont performing arts experiences more affordable for our Vermont constituents. This is putting real financial pressure on our Vermont venues. They're having to spend more for consumer service, internet, and data security. Fans turn to our Vermont venues when something goes wrong. So our Vermont businesses must resolve, refund, or troubleshoot issues caused by scam tickets and third-party resellers. They're having to find seats for them. They're having to refund them. They're having to do a number of things that are causing real harm. Our Vermont venues are losing thousands of dollars, absorbing escalated losses from invalid tickets or overpaid tickets to ensure they maintain customer relationships. Critically important, as we all know, in our communities. Plus, money is being funneled out of our Vermont economy. If a $100 ticket is resold for $400, that leaves $300 leaves a Vermont household. That money does not go to Vermont venues, workers, local restaurants, or surrounding local businesses. That $300 is going out of state to a state reseller or national resale platform. This is economic extraction from Vermonters and from our communities. This is the additional problem, in addition to obviously the harm that our constituents are facing. The lack of regulation in this market has diminished the trust between consumers and venues. eroding Vermont's live entertainment and sports markets. I've noticed this just with our own family as we go to buy tickets for the World Cup. Everyone is very concerned that you are making that purchase from a venue that's legitimate. I won't say anything about FIFA, but this is a concern I've observed in my own family just in the last couple months. Automated bot, these markets are a crucial part of our economy. As you will recall, the performing arts industry in Vermont is worth about $1.2 billion to our economy, and 93 million, roughly 93 million of that is for music venues alone. Modern ticket scalping is no longer someone outside a stadium with 2 tickets and seats to get in. It's automated bot purchasing, bulk acquisitions, immediate relisting with prices that are steeply inflated from the face value, and speculative listings for tickets that not even owned by the lister. To that end, the bill requires entities that resell or facilitate the resale of tickets to clearly notify the public whether they are purchasing from a secondary tickets reseller. It bans the use of deceptive URLs and the improper use of intellectual property of the venue or the event. The bill sets a price cap of 10% above the original ticket price. Price caps are a crucial part of protecting Vermont consumers and helping the market work effectively for venues. We took our inspiration both from Europe, where this is common practice. If you've tried to buy a Taylor Swift ticket in Europe, all those resales are capped at 10%. In England, many countries have this. And we took our inspiration locally from Maine, who passed this law last year, and they're revisiting and reworking it, but they have found it working very effectively. Price caps regulate markups and discourage abusive resale markets that often have no relationship to real demand. The price cap does not apply if the secondary reseller has a contract with the original ticket venue. This allows fans to resell tickets if plans change, but it stops extreme markups and disincentivizes large-scale speculative resale. Resale caps are becoming a global standard, with over 15 countries having adopted them, and many states are in the process of advancing these as well. Maine is the one close by that's done it, but there are probably 15 states going through this process that we're going through right now. The 10% cap is targeted and measured. It reflects reasonable transaction costs. 10% allows a reseller to cover payment, processing fees, taxes, cover platform fees, cover administrative overhead, and earn a reasonable margin while removing the incentives to hoard inventory, reducing bot-driven mass purchases, and keeping tickets accessible to ordinary Vermonters. Ticket markets are not normal free markets. Tickets are a license to attend a specific one-time event, which are so important to all of us in our experience in our communities and just our pleasure in life. They have fixed supply, artificial scarcity created by release timing, extreme information asymmetry, emotional purchasing pressure. Because supply is fixed and events are limited and perishable, I mean, they only happen once, resale markets can become really predatory. Legislatures historically regulate markets like this that have a fixed supply, high volatility, and consumer vulnerability attached to them. This fits squarely in that category of protecting consumers in that kind of a market. Price caps in narrow markets are not unprecedented. As we know, states regulate rent increases, utility rates, insurance premiums, prescription drug pricing, and payday lending. When markets show repeated consumer harm, legislatures step in, which is what we are doing at this point. A modest 10% resale limit is restrained compared to many regulated industries. This bill is an attempt to bring balance back into the system to restore trust needed for a thriving entertainment industry here in Vermont. I'd particularly really like to thank Maine at this point because we really took a lot of our inspiration from Maine. I'd love, if you'd like to turn to the bill, I'd also like to end up, has our amendment been passed out as well? Great, thank you. I'd like to just quickly go through the sections. It's a short bill, as you will see. Section 1 covers all our definitions, and you will see one of the things we did in our Senate contribution to this bill is that the definition of reseller has been narrowed to exclude individuals to exclude individuals reselling tickets purchased for personal use. Prohibition on the sale of speculative tickets would still apply to all individuals. So that is section 1. We have a couple subsections. First, a ticket issuer must include on the face of the ticket, this is a Senate contribution as well, every ticket the original price must be clear and conspicuous so that the total price of the original ticket. This is important in the resale market because you don't know what you're doing 10% on if you don't know what the original price was. Second, a secondary ticket exchange must provide a statement in a clear and conspicuous manner informing a customer that the customer is purchasing a ticket from a ticket issuer or a ticket reseller and that the resale price of the ticket is limited by the price cap in the bill. And third, in this subsection, it provides that a secondary ticket exchange shall not mislead customers about the availability of tickets. Often you'll see limited supply, going fast, or whatever. You are not allowed to mislead customers about the availability of tickets on that platform or on any other platform. Subsection C covers the price caps on the resale of tickets. First, a ticket reseller cannot resell a ticket for a price of more than 110% of the cost of the original ticket. Some people had problems with this. I went to the Grocers Association and said, what would a retailer be happy with in terms of a markup? And they said, well, we normally get 2 to 3%, but we'd be thrilled with 5%. I said, what would you say if you got 10%? They'd say, oh, we'd be ecstatic. So as we look at this, 10% is a good and fair markup for resale. It is a ticket reseller is defined as a business entity engaged in the sale or resale of tickets and does not include an individual reselling tickets or purchasing for personal use. Second, a secondary ticket exchange shall not authorize for resale on the exchange a ticket for a price greater than 110%. And that is there, you can see that. And subsection D covers the improper use of intellectual property. This subsection would make it unlawful to use deceptive website addresses or imply endorsement or ownership of intellectual property of a venue or artist without explicit written authorization. And it would also be unlawful to state or imply affiliation by using terms such as official without the express written consent of the given venue, team, or artist. And then subsection E, this subsection would prohibit the sale of speculative tickets. Subsection F makes a violation of the new section an unfair and deceptive act in commerce. We set a sunset. Maine is reviewing and working on their law, and we felt that a sunset for 2 years was a good time to review how it's working. And so we put a sunset in, which the House did not have. So the Senate made the changes that you've heard. We excluded individuals from the market. We added the requirement that the ticket display its original price. We limited the application of the section to tickets issued by independent venues located in Vermont. So we limited it just to Vermont tickets and to Vermont venues. And we, yes, that's what there's the bill. However, now I'd like to address the amendment that you have in front of you. After the committee voted the bill out, unanimously, it came to our attention that there were two small technical changes were needed. Because we had, in a compromise move, excluded venues 3,000 seats or fewer, except for large outdoor venues at fairs and nonprofit events like the VSO at Shelburne or the Champlain Valley Fair, which seats 10,000. We still had not included, we still needed to make another change. So we have these two technical changes, these two fairly technical changes that you'll see to ensure that Vermont venues are protected by this legislation. It was not the intent of our committee to omit Vermont venues in this legislation, so this amendment corrects those small omissions. The first one ensures that nonprofits are considered independent venues. Many nonprofits do not have as their primary source of revenue their ticket sales. Their ticket sales, they try and keep low, and as we have all experienced, Vermont's nonprofit venues, event venues play a key role in our state's economy, and this key language in if you look at the amendment in one, the key words are excluding charitable donations, so that we make sure that we include our nonprofits in this definition of independent venue, which you will see. And then the second amendment we made, it became clear that many of our sports stadiums, the Lake Monsters, seat over 4,000 people, so that our restriction of 3,000 needed to be qualified with number C under the second instance of amendment. And this says that the venue is primarily used, it also includes venues that are primarily used for collegiate and amateur sports. So this includes our sports venues as well. So we heard from a lot of witnesses. We heard from 19 witnesses, and one of them is very near and dear to one member of our committee and to many of the members of this body. Our wonderful singer Noah Kahn weighed in, which we had over 250 venues and artists. We had tons of people weighing in on this, but Noah Kahn came in person in a video, and I would just like to quote him if I may, Mr. President. In person in a video. I mean, it wasn't.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Noah Kahn says, as an artist, I care very deeply about the fan experience and accessibility of concert tickets. This bill is a critical step in eliminating predatory resale behaviors and offering Vermonters a great solution for exchanging and reselling tickets in a safe marketplace. This bill is a critical step in eliminating predatory resale behaviors and offering Vermonters a great solution for exchanging and reselling tickets in a safe marketplace. Thank you, Noah Kahn. This bill protects Vermonters, supports our local economy, and creates a fair playing field for commerce to thrive and flourish. Our committee vote was 5-0-0 on both the bill and the amendment, and we ask for the Senate's support. Thank you.
The question is, shall the recommendation of amendment of the Committee on Economic Development be amended as recommended by Senator Clarkson? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I inquire the reporter of the bill?
The reporter's interrogated.
So let me just start by saying that I have been contacted by the Paramount Theater in Rutland and asked for my support, and I fully intend to show that support. But I do have just a clarifying question, if I could, Mr. President. The reporter indicated at one point in the report that a Yankee Red Sox game, which could be obtained from an outside source like StubHub, would not be included in the bill. I'm not sure if the current standings were taken into consideration. There'd be much interest in that ticket, since you're talking about a first place and a last place team, or to be more precise, the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, a ticket might be. Does this bill include that situation?
No, I do not believe. No, it doesn't.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
It applies, just to reiterate,
Senator,
only applies to Vermont
Senator,
tickets and Vermont venues.
You don't really have the floor anymore, but
Oh,
thank you
sorry.
for that. Senator from Essex,
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I inquire of the reporter of the bill, please?
reporters interrogated.
I just want to be clear on my thought process too, is moving forward on this, Mr. President. Does this exclude ticket sales outside of the state for venues like the Red Sox, Yankees, like at Fenway Park?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so this is just for in-state venues, ticket sales occurring, obviously in-state.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, President of the bill.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden.
Mr. President, just in case a clarification helps, I recently took my kids to UVM to see the Harlem Globetrotters, which is a really fun global or nationwide event that Vermonters very much enjoy. If the Harlem Globetrotters perform in Vermont at one of our venues that has seating under 3,000 or usually seats for amateur sports, they are covered under this bill. The resale of those tickets would not go unregulated. It would fall under the regulation of this bill. If the Harlem Globetrotters performed at the Barclays Stadium in Brooklyn, that would not fall under the regulation of this bill, Mr. President.
Senator from Essex.
Mr. President, can I just have one more clarifying question answered by the presenter of the bill, please?
Presenters interrogated.
Mr. President, does this stop the scalping of Farmers' Nights tickets?
This is an interesting question, as the tickets are free and available to the public. I'm hoping this is not an issue for Farmers Night.
Thank you.
Senator from Addison.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I interrogate the presenter?
The presenters interrogated.
I understand that it does not affect individuals, but how would it affect an individual that constantly buys tickets and tries to sell them on, say, Marketplace constantly?
That is a good question. Thank you for it. It is one that enforcement in this bill is complaint driven. That would have to be monitored. I mean, it is monitored. Our Consumer Protection Division of the AG's office is vigilant in watching listservs and all sorts of ways that Vermonters sell things. And so one would hope that would be noticed and a complaint would be registered with the Attorney General's office. But it is complaint driven. And as in many things, we would hope Vermont resellers of their individual tickets purchased that they can't use for some unknown reason would either use a resale platform, they are able to do that, or go back to the original venue and have them resold, or sell them at a thoughtful price, but they can set their own price. But a pattern, I would hope, would be detected by the AG's office or by others, and that it would be a complaint-driven system.
I thank the presenter, and thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden North.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I interrogate the presenter of the
The
bill?
presenters interrogated.
Did the senator have any testimony in committee about ticket sellers that don't post the amount on the ticket? I'm thinking, I go to a UVM hockey game, I get the ticket on my phone, there's no price on that ticket.
Yes, from after this bill is passed, it will be required to have the original price on the ticket.
Okay, and would the senator be able to tell me, is the original price inclusive of the convenience fee that's included in the purchase of that ticket? Or is it just the amount of the ticket less a convenience fee?
It should include all relevant additions,
Oh.
taxes, convenience fee, whatever, any fee that is associated with the ticket and the purchase should be included in the original price on the ticket.
Okay, thank you. And I just have one more. I shouldn't have said thank you yet. Did the committee take any testimony on increased instances of reselling at the door by folks maybe with a bogus ticket or whatnot because they can't resell online through a reseller, because I think of it when I purchase tickets through a StubHub or Ticketmaster, there's a, coverage that's given that it's a real ticket, it'll be covered if this is a fake, and actually StubHub will pay your money back. Is there any thought, any testimony that was given to the committee about an increase in scalping tickets because of this limit, so to speak?
We are concerned mostly, sadly, we've seen fewer and fewer real people trying to sell their tickets in front of the theater or in front of the stadium. Most of this work is done online. And we did not talk about the enforcement of the in-person reseller in front of a stadium. We did not talk about that, but I can get you information about that for third reading.
I thank the senator, and I will just say I appreciate the work of the committee working on this bill to narrow it and protect our local facilities, and that keeping that money in state is a fantastic effort, because I wouldn't want to have to miss a show because of an exorbitant ticket price. So I appreciate the work of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the recommendation of amendment of the Committee on Economic Development be further amended as recommended by Senator Clarkson? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have amended the recommendation of amendment of the Committee on Economic Development. The question now is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Economic Development? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you propose to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Economic Development. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 512. We have on the calendar for action H 941, which was passed by the House on April 1st of 26. It was referred to the Committee on Agriculture, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the Senate propose to the House that the bill be amended as it appears in today's calendar, and that with such proposal of amendment, the bill ought to pass. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 941, an act relating to municipal regulation of agriculture.
I recognize the senator from Essex District, Senator Ingalls, for the report of the Committee on Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. President. The senators might recognize the language of this bill as it is the same language, other than some tweaks that the committee did as what we passed in our miscellaneous agricultural bill that was nearly unanimous. Just for some comments, when the Supreme Court struck down basically the right to really farm in Vermont the way that everyone thought it ought to be, it caused a tremendous amount of angst. And we looked at that situation in the Senate Agriculture as an opportunity to do exactly what we felt that the Supreme Court had said. It said that if you think that you have your protections in farming, then you need to say that. You need to do a better job of describing that. And that's what we did in our miscellaneous bill. And we received the House bill version of it. We basically struck out all the language that they had and inserted this new language, which is, again, it's not new to the Senate, other than a few different changes. So going down through the bill, Section 1, Findings and Intents, Municipal Regulation of Agriculture. Since at least 2004, Acts and Resolves number 115, it has been understanding that municipalities have not regulated agriculture, including the construction of farm structures that the Agency of Agriculture regulates through the required agricultural practices rule. The Vermont Supreme Court reversed that understanding and held that municipalities may regulate agriculture activities so long as municipalities do not regulate the required agricultural practice rules itself. To avoid unintended consequences of having farms be regulated by both the municipality and the Agency of Agriculture, the proposal of amendments would restore the understanding that municipalities may not regulate farming or the construction of farm structures, but with some exemptions. These exemptions will recognize that farming livestock requires a certain amount of land, and the municipalities can regulate farming livestock or smaller sized parcels. The bill will also protect a person's ability to raise a small backyard poultry flock and to cultivate their land to grow plants. Section 2, amending 24 VSA, Section 441(3) with small d, limitations on municipal bylaws. This section would prohibit municipalities' regulation of agriculture that is subject to regulation by the Agency of Agriculture's required agriculture practice rules with some exemptions. This section would permit municipality regulation of raising, feeding, or managing livestock on a farm that is less than 1 contiguous acre, even if there is other farming activities that are subject to the RAP rules. This section would prohibit municipality regulation of raising, feeding, or managing livestock on farms of 1 to 4 contiguous acres only when the Secretary of Agriculture makes a determination that the farm has a sufficient land base for appropriate nutrient and waste management before the farm would be subject to the RAP rules. This section would permit some municipality regulation of swine raised in designated downtown and village centers, regardless of the size of the parcel. This section further prohibits municipalities from regulating cultivating land for growing plants. The specific, sorry, my contacts are a little dry. The specific exception excludes cannabis. Cannabis is separately regulated in Title VII. Cannabis does, by reference, have similar protections for municipalities' regulation of agriculture and other farming practices subject to the RAP rules. Regarding a small backyard, a poultry flock, excluding roosters, would also be something that could not be regulated. Section 3, amending the required agriculture practice rules, RAP rules, for the agriculture non-point source pollution control program. The section amends the threshold criteria for farming activities to be subject to the RAP rules and therefore exempt from regulation by municipality bylaws. Meeting any one of the criteria would make farming activity subject to the RAP rules. Generally, the RAP rules regulate water quality and other farming standards on farms and requires farmers to adopt practices to mitigate adverse impacts to water. These criteria include farming activities that generate $2,000 in farm income, involves a certain amount of animals on a farm of at least 4 continuous acres, or involves growing and harvesting crops on a farm at least 4 continuous acres. This section changes the RAP rules to conform to the statute so that farming livestock on less than 1 contiguous acre is subject to municipal regulations, even if other farming activities are subject to the RAPs. This section also changes the RAPs to conform to the statute so that farming livestock on 1 to 4 contiguous acres must have a sufficient land base for appropriate nutrient and waste management as determined by the Secretary of Agriculture before it is subject to the RAP rules and therefore exempt from municipal regulations. Growing and harvesting for sales crops on a farm that has at least 4 continuous acres as another criteria to make the farm subject to the RAP rules. This section would amend the criterion to also encompass farm crops for donations to charitable organizations. Mr. President, farming in the state of Vermont is nearly $13 billion, and I think the last count as far as to what it employs is better than 50,000 people. It is the cornerstone of really why people come to this state. People don't come to this state, unbelievably, to see solar panels and windmills and all of that. They come to this state to see great scenic views provided by the people that are working the lands in the state of Vermont. It would be a terrible thing for farming and the practices that go along with it to be regulated to the point to where it would cause disruption to the value of what Vermont farmers do with this do for this state. This passed our committee 5-0. We had lots of testimony from the farm groups, Rural Vermont, the NOFAs, the Farm Bureaus, anybody that would be associated with agriculture, the Agency of Agriculture in itself, and we would ask for this body's support.
The question is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Agriculture? Senator, oh yes, we do have one amendment. Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the committee for working to try and find the balance between urban and rural farming. I continue to feel strongly that we must support our farms and that farming in downtowns and urban areas is fundamentally different than farming in large rural areas. This amendment is a couple of changes. The first is a bit of, a little bit more regulation allowable in our downtowns, historic downtowns, village centers, and census tracts with a population density of 800 people per square mile or more. This would allow the regulation of livestock. It would not allow the regulation of plants. It would not allow the regulation of small backyard poultry flocks, although the next instance of amendment does define what that is. Currently, as you may recall, a few weeks back on the miscellaneous agriculture bill, I raised this concern with a different amendment and have since worked to try to fine tune how we do this. Currently, for many years, the city of Burlington has had a prohibition on having emus or camels, because I think we can all agree that having emus or camels in downtown Burlington might not be a great idea. And in the research for this amendment, I have come to learn that emus are very large, not very friendly, and excellent escape artists. And as the current bill, H941 coming out of Senate Ag, would prohibit having emus in downtown, right around Church Street, but would not prohibit it in parts of the Hill section or the New North End. And I think we can probably agree that having an emu farm in the Hill section of Burlington may be a bad idea. This prohibition on emus and camels, as I said, has been in place for quite a while, but as this is moving forward, it would prohibit Burlington from prohibiting emus and camels. So this is a slight expansion on the ability of the most densely populated areas to have some say in what livestock is allowed in those areas. It is not a requirement that the municipalities do that, and it doesn't even apply to the entire municipality. It applies only to those historic centers and the census tract in which there are living more than 800 people per square mile. The second instance of amendment, as I said, does define what a backyard poultry flock is. My concern with having no definition for this is that it is setting up our municipalities for lawsuits. If I believe that my 12 birds is a small backyard poultry flock and my regulations say that I can only have 6, I may choose to sue. And part of my thought process behind this is because of my district. All of the towns in my district allow small backyard poultry flocks. None of them have the same number that they constitute that as. I believe in Burlington it's 10, in Winooski it is 6, in Essex it is 4. So I could see a situation where someone in Essex says, oh, well, my friend in Burlington can have 10, I'm gonna sue the town because I want 10. Or someone in Burlington says, my neighbor's 10 chickens are annoying me and they only allow 4 in Essex, I'm gonna sue the town. And so I thought that a definition here was useful, and so the definition defines a small backyard poultry flock as not more than 6 birds, which doesn't mean that a town couldn't allow more than that, but they would be able to regulate beyond that. And the last definition, or the last change, is actually just aligning the language in this bill with what we did in the miscellaneous ag bill, which was to raise that threshold for what you can sell to be considered a farm from 2,000 to 5,000. When I spoke to legislative counsel and asked what would happen because of that misalignment with what we did in miscellaneous ag and what this is doing, is that whichever bill passed first would actually get struck out by the bill that passed second. So if miscellaneous ag passes first, it would raise it to 5,000, and then if this passes afterwards, it would drop it back to 2,000. So this is just an alignment with what we did in miscellaneous agriculture. I unfortunately was not invited to present this to the committee, so I haven't had a chance to, though I did send it to them last week. And I hope that the body can see the reason and logic and balance here in trying to ensure that farms across the state of Vermont can operate and do the work that they do, while also recognizing that in our densest, most urban areas, some practices and some livestock just may not make sense. And it may make sense to allow in those areas for a municipality to think about what makes sense for their town. Thank you so much.
Senator from Essex.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee did get this late after we passed the bill out or thereabouts. Here's the problem that I have, Mr. President. We have been working on this bill in some form since the beginning of this year. VLTC has been in one time, and not since crossover. Unfortunately, this bill isn't small changes. It strips away all the committee's work that they've done. The vast majority of the committee work's done. And I had laid out the thought or more than the thought process, the what farming means to this state. So to come on a floor amendment to strip out all this committee's work that we've been here for nearly 20 weeks on, and we've worked really, really hard on this bill to find this balance. Isn't the way that legislation ought to be done. This is a significant wrecking of all the work that we've done. I will have a message to VLCT. You want to impact legislation because you are a proud organization. I don't think there's anybody in this building, anybody in this room certainly, especially if you've been involved with town government, that hasn't relied on that proud tradition of their helpfulness. But something's changed, Mr. President, in this year's session in this building. This guerrilla warfare tactic of not coming into committees and advocating for what you believe is strong and what is right, and for all of your members has ended. I know there was another committee last week that had the same thing. If VLCT, if you want your work considered, please, please, please be the proud tradition people that you are, because you've helped all of us. But get back to your hard work, come into committees, advocate for what you want, and we will listen, especially with the agriculture committee that we have, we will listen. I would urge the body to strike this amendment down. There has been ample opportunities to come in, regardless of what was just said, to come in and advocate for what was important for anybody's constituents. And we would ask that the Senate not concur with this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I just inquire of the reporter of the bill, please?
The reporter of the bill is interrogated.
Thank you. I am just curious. Many of our towns obviously have ordinances already in place. I assume that this wouldn't prohibit those ordinances from, I mean, for example, we have, in where I live, we don't allow roosters anymore in the village center because of the noise. This doesn't prohibit those ordinances which are already in place. Is that correct?
I would have to ask, as far as Ledge Council, just give me, Mr. President, 30 seconds just to make sure of that. I just want to be sure. Thank you, Mr. President.
Will the Senate please come to order?
I wanted to be sure I thought I knew the answer of it, but I do not at a critical time want to say something that's not correct. Roosters are not permitted anyways. And as long as those towns that have those ordinances in place aren't bumping up against the RAP rules, which you would have known by now that you would have been, because it would have been said about, yes, those ordinances that are in place are not going to be affected by this passing of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And I also want to say that we did do a straw poll within our committee, and our committee was 5-0 about supporting this amendment.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Washington,
Thank you. Could I inquire of the presenter of the bill?
the presenter of the amendment or the bill?
The bill.
The senator from Essex interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just wondering about the second and third. I understand the first instance of amendment, why the committee would feel strongly about that one. I wondered about this definition. I thought maybe that was a point well taken, that we have this different definition. Or the third amendment, the point that this is different than the other bill. I didn't know if the committee had a preference that they want it to be $2,000, or if there's another method to correct that issue, that if this bill passes.
We had, I think the committee, Mr. President, would be fine with either the 2 or the 5. A lot of that was just going back and forth between, trying to satisfy some of the farm advocates, and everybody signed off on the 5, and this was one last chance to get it down to back down to the 2,000. I don't think it's going to matter to this committee, or to be honest, not matter to any part of how farming is regulated in the state, whether it was the 2,000 or the 5,000.
And Mr. President, the definition of the 6 birds, did the committee have an opinion on that?
We intentionally, Mr. President, kept very vague about a small flock, knowing that there was a lot of communities out there that already had their own regulations in place. So we didn't want to wade into that and say, well, and cause a lot of confusion about what was there. I think it gets down, Mr. President, about what's manageable. Who's complaining? What's causing the harm within? So yeah, it may seem like a little bit vague as far as where the number lies, but again, there's just a lot of communities that have put that number in place already. We didn't want to conflict with any of them.
Thank you. I thank the Senator. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden Central.
One quick question for the reporter of the bill, Mr. President.
The reporter of the bill is interrogated.
I think I understood the senator to say that there was a straw vote, 5-0-0 against the amendment.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. President. Yeah, it was.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We felt, Mr. President, we felt that for anybody, this bill has been around. It's kind of a signature piece of what we've done in agriculture. And we have just felt, and we've been open to it. We have invited people in. We have just said, come on in. And we are very, very proud of the work that we've done. As the senator from Rutland has said, Mr. President, the senior senator, this is landmark legislation to protect farming in Vermont. And we're very proud of the work that we did. We're very thoughtful work. Thank you.
Senator from Wyndham.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I interrogate
The reporter's interrogated.
Bill? I very much appreciate the work that you have done, and it's obviously a very challenging balance. I'm concerned that the committee has done. I'm concerned about making changes that will impact municipalities in ways that we might not be aware of. So I'd like to understand, just follow up on the last question that about municipalities and about existing ordinances. And what I heard was that if it related to the RAP, that they would have known already. I questioned that. So I'd like to know if the committee took testimony from folks other than VLCT, and that when VLCT did provide testimony, what that testimony included.
Yeah, VLTC has said to us all along that they were happy with our language. They've said it in committee. We thank them for their participation when they were first in there at the beginning of the year. We haven't seen them since after crossover. So all along, they have been very thoughtful as far as how they did it. We've seen them in the cafeteria, we've seen them in the hallways. We were surprised to hear that they would be putting forth an amendment such as this. But yeah, as long as those communities aren't bumping up against the required practices, agricultural practices, they're going to be fine. And so this isn't new language as far as only two that were put in statute. This is how farming was before the Supreme Court made their decision. And so we're just basically going back to where it was and codifying the language.
I thank the reporter. Thank you.
Senator from Chittenden Central.
I just wanted to make a quick clarification in that VLCT did not work with me on this language. This was language, people may recall that I previously tried to do something similar using Tier 1A and Tier 1B. And what we sort of determined was it was a little too expansive and a little too squishy as to what that would apply to, which is why I worked instead to use the census tracts, which are very clearly defined by the US Census Bureau. You can find them on a map. I'm happy to provide people with a map of the few areas that this would apply to. That said, VLCT did send an email out yesterday saying that they support this amendment and that it gets them closer to what they're hoping to do. So, thank you.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the proposal of amendment of the Committee on Agriculture be amended as recommended by Senator Vyhovsky? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
No.
The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it, and the amendment has failed. The question now is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Agriculture? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you propose to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Agriculture. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 941. S 255 was passed by the House with a proposal of amendment. The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? Recognize the senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators will remember us voting this bill out earlier in the session. It establishes a pilot law enforcement governance council in Windham County, which is a voluntary measure. The House has sent back one change to what we put forth, and I'll just reference that as sort of a midpoint check-in. The pilot program was intended to run for 5 years, and the House is suggesting that on or before September 30th, 2030, and again, when it runs out, in consultation with the Windham County Sheriff and Windham County Assistant Judges, that there be a comprehensive evaluation of the pilot program to both committees, the House and the Senate Government Operations. It will include an assessment of the cost effectiveness compared to alternative service delivery models, an analysis of service quality improvements, an evaluation of governance model effectiveness, and then recommendations regarding continuation, modification, or expansion of the program, and finally, a proposed framework for statewide replication if warranted. The committee unanimously votes in favor of adding that amendment and would ask that the Senate concur with the House proposal. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall the Senate concur in the House proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've concurred in the House proposal of amendment on S 255. We have on the calendar for action H 814, introduced on January 29th of 26. It was referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that it ought to pass in concurrence. Affecting the appropriations of the state, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the bill ought to pass in concurrence. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H814, an act relating to neurological rights and the use of artificial intelligence technology in health and human services.
Recognize the senator from Chittenden Central, Senator Gulick, for the report of the Committee on Health and Welfare.
Thank you, Mr. President. H814 is an act relating to neurological rights and the use of artificial intelligence technology in health and human services. If you are a fan of George Orwell, Ray Bradbury, Isaac Asimov, you read the book Feed by Vermont author M.T. Anderson, this is the bill for you, because this is the stuff of science fiction. I think you're all aware that artificial intelligence is infiltrating just about every aspect of our lives. It's being used to track us, to gather our data, to then disperse our data, and to manipulate our behaviors. It's legal, and in many cases, we're making a choice to engage with it. However, there's a lot we still don't understand, and frankly, a lot that we're not even aware of. In the healthcare sector, which is what we're interested in our Health and Welfare Committee, there are technologies that are developing and rapidly being deployed that could threaten our rights, increase exploitation, and pose great harm. There's also a potential benefit to AI, right? So we want to do it right. We don't want to crush innovation, but we do want to set some guardrails. That's what this bill is attempting to do, and it's only a first step. It makes a statement of intent by adding basic neurological rights in statute as a starting place. Well, why do we need this? As I said, AI is omnipresent in our lives, and it's becoming so in healthcare and in human services. Some of the most interesting and chilling testimony that we got in committee was from a neurologist. He underscored that neurological data is different from other health data. It's not just tracking our biological functions, it's tracking our brain activity in our nervous system. It can look at intention and experience. And so in that sense, it gave us pause for sure. It woke us up when we heard this information. It can detect patterns of fatigue and attention. So he showed us these headphones that you can place on your ears, and they can basically measure brain waves. So they have these sensors that measure your brain waves, and they can identify anxiety, depression, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, Alzheimer's. So they can see what's going on inside your head. The technologies can observe neurological activity, and they can interact with it. You can order these devices online. They're medical grade technology that you can buy on the interwebs. And it's already, frankly, $1 billion industry. This bill doesn't really contemplate what's happening in the private sector, but we are looking at how this will affect healthcare and human services. The question is, who owns the data and how can it be used appropriately? Current Vermont frameworks are just not sufficient. And this bill will hopefully help create a framework. Again, it's just a first step for the future. The American Medical Association has already adopted a policy to define and protect neural data, and currently 4 states have laws: Colorado, Montana, Connecticut, and California. We also heard that countries are now starting to really grapple with this. Chile, for example, has already done a constitutional amendment to enshrine neurological rights in their constitution. Canada as well has done some of that work. And then other parts of the globe are starting to step into this arena. Here's a little bit of Vermont AI history. In 2018, we became the first state in the country to pass AI legislation with the AI task force. It had a 1.5 or 1.5 year mission to create a report on what state government should do about AI. It recommended that Vermont create an AI commission and a code of ethics to examine all the ways the state was using AI. So again, we're not talking private sector. Their work did not touch the private sector. The task force did its work publicly and went around the state with an open process that focused on engagement and education. And the Senate decided, actually, it was this body, the Senate, decided to create a division of AI built into the government. And ADS was given a division and a director. It became known nationwide as the Vermont model. The idea was not to over-regulate, but to set guardrails. So if you look at the bill that's before you, and it's the same as it came to us from the House, Section 1 basically just sets out the intent of the bill, which I explained in my introduction. Section 2 creates a new chapter, 42C, in Title 18. And this lays out the purpose of individual rights to mental and neurological data privacy and freedom of thought. And then Section 3 amends Title 3, Chapter 5023, the chapter on the AI Advisory Council. This is really the sort of the meat of the bill. It adds some new members in an attempt to sort of expand the scope of the council. It changes the governor's appointee to a National Association of Social Workers appointee. It changes the Commissioner of Health to the Secretary of Human Services, or designee. It then adds a member with healthcare experience appointed by the Vermont Medical Society. It adds another member with experience in public education appointed by the Vermont NEA. It adds the state treasurer or designee, and it adds, we still want the governor to have a say, so it adds a governor appointee who has relevant knowledge and experience. So there are currently 10 members on that council. We're adding 4. It then extends the advisory council another 3 years to June 30th of 2030. And frankly, we may want that council to go on beyond 2030 because, again, this is a burgeoning area that we're just starting to learn about. Section 4 asks that a report be submitted on or before January 15th of 2027. And the bill will take passage on, the bill will take effect on passage. We heard from the sponsor of the bill. We heard from Vermont Legal Aid, Vermont Medical Society. We heard from that neurologist, Sean Pazowski of the Neuro Rights Foundation. We heard from a lawyer at the Neuro Rights Foundation. We heard from Rick Barnett of the Vermont Psychological Association. And we also heard from the Attorney General's office. And the vote in committee was 5-0-0. We ask that the Senate concur. Thank you, Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from Chittenden, Senator Lyons, for the report of the Committee on Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appropriations reviewed the bill and identified that there may be some per diems added in as a result of membership on the AI Advisory Council. And the committee voted 7-0-0, thinking that the appropriations would be de minimis, and asked that you also support our bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was one of the Appropriations Committee members who voted to support the funding in here. At that time, I was a little confused by the neurological rights laid out on page 2. So if I might inquire of the presenter of the bill.
The reporter's interrogated.
The bill contains no definitions. So I find some of the listed rights, individual rights, confusing. And I'm wondering if the senator can clear that up for me. So number 4 says you have the right to change, an individual has the right to change their decision regarding neurotechnology and the right to determine by what means to change that decision. And I have thought about that quite a bit, and I can't think of what it means. So if the senator could clarify.
Well, I'll just start by saying that the definitions, we didn't define some of the terms in this bill because we because frankly, they're not quite fully fleshed out yet. So some of the definitions will be worked on by the council. I would love to speak briefly with Ledge Council to make sure I get the answer right on this particular question. If I
We'll
could.
take a brief recess.
Thank you.
Will the Senate please come to order? You may continue your questioning, Senator from Chittenden Central.
And I will thank the senator at this point. In our discussion, it was made clear to me that part of the intent is to have the Intelligence Advisory Council work on the individual rights, the statement of individual rights. And so I will trust in their work, which will come back, I assume, for review by the legislature. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
No.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 814. We have on the calendar for action H 536, which was passed the House on March 24th of 26. It was referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the Senate propose to the House that the bill be amended as it appears starting on page 2030 in today's calendar, and that with such proposal of amendment, the bill ought to pass. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 536, an act relating to toxic heavy metals in baby food products.
Recognize the Senator from Chittenden, Senator Gulick, for the report of the Committee on Health and Welfare.
Okay, hopefully this one's a little more straightforward. This is H 536, a bill related to toxic heavy metals in baby food products. This report is a strike-all amendment, and it requires food manufacturers to test their baby food products for heavy metals and make the relevant results available to the public. Producers may not sell those products that exceed regulatory limits established by the FDA. So the problem we're trying to solve is that we now have evidence from several studies that there's widespread presence of heavy metals in baby foods with potential long-term health impacts on infants and their rapidly developing brains and bodies. Children are more susceptible than adults to the harmful impacts of heavy metals, which include severe health consequences like neurocognitive disorders, behavioral disorders, respiratory problems, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. The fix that we have in this particular bill is to require testing of baby foods and formula. And it is also to educate and inform parents and caregivers through the requirement of labeling and information availability so that we don't harm infants and babies. And you'll see that the bill adds infant formula to the definition of baby food. Why did we include infant formula? Infants can be exposed to toxic heavy metals through their food, including formula. And there are some recent studies that have been really shocking and eye-opening. In May of 2025, Consumer Reports published a study where they tested 41 powder formula products for toxic metals, and about half of the samples contain potentially harmful levels of at least one toxic metal contaminant. And then in January 2026, Florida governor and Department of Health published a study that tested 24 formulas, and it found elevated levels of heavy metals like mercury in 16, pointing to systemic problems in sourcing or manufacturing. These studies show that some formulas are better than others. There's actually quite a few on the market. Parents and caregivers deserve to have this information to make informed purchasing decisions for their infants. And I did a little research. It was so fascinating to learn that infant formula first showed up in a relatively, large commercial fashion in 1865, which I had no idea it's been around that long. It wasn't until 1980 that the FDA started regulating formula. When two mothers saw that their babies were getting sick from a chloride deficiency, they contacted the FDA about the baby formula. And the FDA actually responded that they had been trying for years to get Congress to grant them the power to regulate baby food. The moms relentlessly lobbied Congress until the Infant Formula Act was passed by the FDA, again in 1980, giving them the authority to make sure that all formulas met certain nutritional requirements. What did we hear from the formula industry? Because of course we did hear from the formula industry. During committee testimony, representatives from the infant formula industry stated that they already conducted thorough testing for heavy metals. Under H 536, they would then just need to make these results publicly available. But one of the things that I learned in reading this Consumer Reports report is that infant formula is one of the most regulated foods on the market. However, the focus of that regulation is on the nutritional components of the formula and also on bacteria prevention. So they want to prevent bacterial contamination, but they don't really look that heavily at heavy metals or toxins. So that was an interesting discrepancy that I found. So in this strike all amendment, if you look at the various sections, section 1 will amend Title 18, Chapter 82, which is the labeling chapter. And we changed the title of the subchapter 1 from labeling for marketing and sale to general provisions. We add a new subchapter 3, testing and labeling of certain products, and we add section 4091, baby food products. And in subsection A, there are a bunch of definitions. Subsection B prohibits the sale of baby food products that exceed the regulatory limits established by the US FDA. We added the word regulatory. The Senate Health and Welfare Committee added the word regulatory, and we added that the remaining inventory in stock can be sold off until it's gone. Subsection C requires testing at least once a month. D1 requires that the manufacturer of a baby food product make available on its website the name and level of each toxic heavy metal, information to identify the product, and then a link to the US FDA website with the most recent guidance around the effects of toxic heavy metals on children. Again, this is about educating parents and caregivers. D2 just lays out the requirements for online sales. E requires the manufacturer to label if a food is subject to action level, regulatory limit, or tolerance level established by the US FDA. And section 1 in that, under E, a label that states more information about the toxic element testing on the product has to be available by scanning a QR code. And the QR code has to link to the test results or again to the US FDA's website with guidance and information about health effects. In F, you have the provision where a consumer may report the baby food product that is exceeding the toxin level to the Attorney General. G says that the Attorney General and private parties have the same rights provided in statute if there is a violation. H, we added, nothing in this section shall be construed to conflict with federal law or regulation. In section 2, we amend 18 VSA chapter 4091 to include infant formula as a baby food product. Subsection G, we call that a fail-safe. It's a fail-safe regarding the Attorney General's authority. It says that the Attorney General, in consultation with the Commissioner of Health, shall suspend the application of this section, so this infant formula section, if the Attorney General verifies that there is insufficient infant formula in the state or evidence of a declining supply. And we just wanted to make sure that, like we saw around COVID, you know, there started to be a shortage of infant formulas, and we wanted to make sure that this does not affect parents and caregivers in the event that there is a declining supply. So in that unlikely, highly unlikely case that there is a shortage of formula, as a consequence of Vermont's law going into effect, the bill gives the Attorney General the authority to suspend the infant formula provision of the law. Section 3 allows for the continued sale of inventory. Again, we want to make sure that people can still buy what's on the shelf. Section 4, those are the effective dates. And in this bill, the effective dates are actually kind of important. So I will go through those. Sections 1 and 3 will take effect on January 1st, 27. Section 2, again, we tried to be very conservative here. Section 2 contains a trigger mechanism. So the infant formula provision won't take effect in law until a law has taken effect in California or 2 other states. And we changed that from a law that's enacted to a law that takes effect. Again, just trying to be as careful as we could possibly be. This approach ensures that Vermont is aligned with a broader national trend. We didn't want to be the only ones. The state will not be on its own or imposing unique requirements on manufacturers, because we are, as we know, a small part of the market. Where else has this kind of action been taken? California. They have passed a law to test for toxic heavy metals, lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury, and then disclose the results. Maryland, Virginia, and Illinois. We heard from, here's my handy dandy list. Oh, we heard from the sponsor of the bill. We heard from the Associated Industries of Vermont. We heard from the Attorney General's office. We heard from a group called Unleaded Kids. We heard from the Department of Health. We heard from the Infant Nutrition Council of America. And ultimately, we voted the bill out 3-0, and we asked that the Senate concur. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Health and Welfare? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Addison.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I inquire of the reporter of the bill?
The reporter's interrogated.
Thank you. I am extremely supportive of making sure that our baby food and formula is healthy and safe for babies in Vermont and everywhere, frankly. But I'm a little confused by the sort of mechanisms in this bill. Could the reporter clarify for me what the FDA prohibits in baby food? Do federal regulations already prohibit toxic heavy metals in baby food?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Okay, so if the federal regulations already prohibit it, why is there toxic heavy metals in baby food?
What we heard was that it's almost impossible to have no heavy metals in baby food, sadly, because of the amount of heavy metals that are in our environment, including our water supply. So, in fact, the FDA has, they have a program, or they're working, they have something called Closer to Zero. They know they can't get to zero, so what they're trying to do is just get as close to zero as they can. So to answer your question, yes, but certainly there is a difference, and not all of the food is, they're not all equal. And especially with infant formula, there are some formulas that have dangerously high levels, and then there are some formulas that are actually quite safe. And the Consumer Reports report was great because they actually outlined all the different formula brands and how much toxins or how many toxins they have or don't have. But yes, we are trying to get closer to zero, knowing that we will never get to zero.
Okay, so if a formula is extremely high in toxic heavy metals, does the FDA require that it be taken off the shelves or not?
Currently, no. And what I found in this Consumer Reports report is that in the same way in 1980, the FDA wanted congressional authority to test. They still would like more authority to work on infant formula. They just have not been granted it. And in fact, reading more about this, you probably have heard that the FDA has lost a lot of funding. They've lost a lot of positions, and they are in a state right now where they actually can't do the work that they would like to do.
That is definitely clarifying. So this essentially would allow Vermont to regulate the labeling of the baby food and infant formula where the FDA's regulations are insufficient.
That's correct. As I said at the beginning of my testimony, my report, this is about labeling and educating and informing.
So the products would still potentially be for sale in Vermont, they would just have to be labeled with how much heavy metal is in them, is that
Technically,
correct?
they should not, the ones that are exceeding FDA levels should not be on the shelf. And if they are, I talked about the Attorney General and a private right of action if necessary to get them removed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. That is helpful for my understanding.
Senator from Wyndham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Generally speaking, strong supporter of not letting babies eat heavy metals, but I do have a concern, at least an initial concern with some of the language on page 2033 regarding the Attorney General. And I noticed one of the differences between the committee's proposal and the bill as passed by the House is the addition of language that says evidence of a declining supply. And generally speaking, there is an ebb and flow of supply for any product. And so I would like to inquire of the presenter.
Presenters interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm wondering if you could describe what the parameters might be as to how we would define a declining supply.
Mr. President, we did not get into the specifics. We did talk about this and we were wondering, how is the Attorney General going to know if there's a declining supply? We are leaving that up to the Attorney General in concert with the Department of Health to sort of just, keep an eye on the supply chain issues, which is, what we saw during the pandemic. But we did not specify a specific mechanism.
I thank the senator.
Senator from Orleans.
Mr. President, I was one of the ones that voted no on this. And first of all, I want to explain, I'm certainly not against going against infants or mothers or fathers or families. You've heard some of the discussion here from other senators, and there may be a potential for a legal challenge on this. There's an FDA and labeling issue, in my opinion, and the way I understood it, this amendment got added at the last second on the House floor. And so I'm not sure that this has been fully vetted yet. And I want to make absolutely sure that infants are well looked after and that this bill does exactly what we want it to do. I'm thinking it's going to go to the House and more work will be done on it. And for that reason, I will be supporting this bill now. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Health and Welfare? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've proposed to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Health and Welfare. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time?
Roll call.
Roll call has been requested, and when the vote is taken, it shall be by roll. Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Secretary shall call the roll.
Senator Baruch.
Yes.
Senator Peck. Senator Benson.
Yes.
Senator Bunger.
Yes.
Senator Brennan.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Gulick.
Yes.
Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan.
Yay.
Senator Ingalls.
Yes.
Senator Longen.
Yes.
Senator Major.
Yes.
Senator Matos.
Yes.
Senator Morley.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Perschlip.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Rom Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Bohowski.
Yes.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Westman.
Yes.
Senator White.
Yes.
Senator Williams. Senator Beck. Senator Williams.
Those voting yes, 28. Those voting no, 0. And the ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 536. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that is a good morning's work, and we've cleared much of the calendar. So with that said, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 6th, 2026.
Are there any announcements? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. One final reminder that the State House will look very different when you come back tomorrow. This is a very special day where we are unveiling the portrait of Luvinia Dorsey Bright, the first Black woman to serve in the state legislature beginning in 1988 from South Burlington. I will briefly say what I plan to say in the House chambers for the event, which takes place between 4 to 6 today. But there are 87 portraits hanging in the State House, the most recent one being of Alexander Twilight, the first Black man to serve in the legislature 150 years before Luvinia Dorsey Bright. There are 3 portraits of women out of the 87 that hang in our halls of power. Please attend, and please also note this falls on right in short succession after the fall of many important provisions of the Voting Rights Act, something I hope we will all fight to uphold. And I hope this portrait unveiling today reminds folks that equal representation under the law is critical for equal protection under the law. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are there any further announcements?
I just wanted to clarify real quickly that.
Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify, in the House chamber, that event will go from 4 to maybe 5 o'clock, and then there is a reception in the Cedar Creek room after that. It's not 2 hours in the House chamber. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I could give you a long story about how the biology of human and dog relationship just makes people feel good. I won't, but there is a lot of science that shows that being around dogs lowers your blood pressure, makes you feel happier. You might wonder why I'm telling you this. There will be therapy dogs here visiting at noon today in the lobby. Therapy Dogs of Vermont is one of our awesome nonprofits. My dog is a certified therapy dog. She may make an appearance. And if people are feeling a little stressed out, go pet a dog. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I did my therapeutic walk with my therapy dogs already this morning. Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Monday, an announcement, Senate Finance will meet at 1 o'clock. And I have been trying to get a therapy dog in this building for at least 20 years.
Senator from Washington.
Thank you. Senate Appropriations, I think, is meeting at 1, so come down and look at our magic chalkboard and find out.
Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Government Operations will also meet at 1.
Senator from Chittenden Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Health and Welfare, I'd like to ask to meet briefly over in that corner after we have adjourned.
Senator from Windham.
Thank you. Senate Judiciary will meet 5 minutes after the fall of the government.
Senator from Windsor.
Thank you. Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs will also meet 5 minutes at about 11:40, where I'm going to see if we can hear about the House amendment on S-173. Thank you.
Are there any further? Senator from Bennington.
Mr. President, the Education Committee will meet at 1:15.
Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Natural Resources and Energy will not meet this morning.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate stand in adjournment until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 6th of 2026. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we'll stand in adjournment until 11 a.m. Wednesday, May 6th of 2026.